Now, our next guest has been instrumental in keeping the island's youth on its toes for almost 4 decades, and with her latest big production, she'll be celebrating childhood again by bringing the story of the boy who never grows up to the Villa Marina. I think our guest a little bit later would probably class himself as a boy who never grew up as well, but we'll find out more about that a little bit later on. Now, Christine Wilde has been teaching on the island for 38 years. And you started, Christine, didn't you, when your daughter Rachel, who is also involved in this new production, was just 2 years old. Yes. So, it's no mean feat anyway, taking on the notion of sort of starting a dance and theatre school, but with a young daughter as well, that's some doing.
Well, by 2, she was already dancing, so she just used to get on the end of the line, basically, and I carried on with the class.
I have to say, I actually remember that because I was in some of the early classes with Christine, and Rachel would have been just a little bit older when I first started going, but I remember seeing this little person just getting up and joining in.
She did her first show in Scotland when we left. We lived there for 5 years when we were first married, and I had a small school there, and we left, and the night before we left we did a show, and she danced in that show, and she was just 2, so she more or less danced as soon as she could stand up, so it was easy, just take her to the class with me.
And do you think it's pretty much inevitable then that she would follow in your, should I say, rather fancy footsteps in starting up her own school as well? Or
and she does a lot on the singing side, and I'm not a singer, as you know. So she branched into that side of it. She does jazz dance as well, but mostly singing and musical theatre. So that's great because it combines up very well,
Yeah,
standard of the singing's gone up greatly in the shows.
Oh, it's fabulous
when she was here.
Well, isn't it? Yeah, and it's fair to say, I think you've played a really important role in the lives of hundreds, actually, if not thousands maybe, over the years of young people here, as I said, me included as well. I know when I was a kid, it was almost like a sort of rite of passage to be part of the Christine Wilde Theatre School. Me and all of my friends were part of it. And I do wonder how it feels to know that you've had that sort of impact on so many lives of young people and who've continued into their sort of older years as well.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's lovely. It's a great job. It's very rewarding, And a lovely thing now is I teach children whose mothers I taught.
Aww.
The first time that happened, the first day, I thought it's time to pack this in. But now there's absolutely loads and loads of the mums I actually taught as well. And Brilliant. That's rather lovely. It's kind of, I might draw the line at grandchildren bit. I might decide that's it then.
See how you go. And Christine, do you remember the very first show you actually produced here on the island?
Yes, I did a few shows in small venues, church halls and schools and stuff. But the first show at the Gaiety, I remember distinctly, I was so chuffed that my name was outside on the hoardings that we went across the road to take a picture of it. Just because it said Christine Wilde Theatre School, I was so made up with that. But I went to the Gaiety within about 2 months of living here to see one of the operatic shows. And I remember sitting in the theatre thinking, this is where I'm going to do my shows. But I had about 5 pupils at the time, so, obviously it was have to be in a while. But, I love it. I love the shows.
You say you love the shows, but you must be a bit of a glutton for punishment because, I can remember even being backstage at one of the Gaiety ones, and it is chaos when you've got so many different ages. I mean, some of the young ones are barely walking, let alone dancing.
And now they're school age now.
Yeah.
I used to take them at 3.
Wow.
What possessed me. But and now they're 5. So they're school age, but we go from 5 to adults. So and there's a range.
Your shows are so ambitious as well, not just in terms of the number of youngsters taking part, but in terms of the actual set and the show themselves. You always set yourself very, very high standards.
Well, this one's very different because we're at the Villa. So what we've done is we've built another stage out in front of the stage that's already there, which is massive, probably size of the Gaiety, I suppose. And then we've got the performance area on the floor as well, so we've got like 3-tier staging, and it's given us a really huge performance area, and we're hoping to have 150 to 200 children on at once.
Oh my word.
So it is a big thing. It's the biggest thing we've done, but the children arrive on Saturday morning, so Ooh. We'll see whether it works or not.
I should say this is Peter Pan, obviously, that's happening at the Villa over Easter, and we'll give all the details about the shows and things shortly. But you describe it as being a very different type of show to normal ones and very immersive. How will it be immersive?
Well, the seating, we can't have sell all the upstairs seats because you can't see the floor area from there. But we've put seating on the floor, so it's very close to the audience. I mean, you can be as close as I am to you now to the performers. And we're using all the entrances on the villa. So there's, I think, 8 different ways to get on. So when you're sat there, the Indians and the pirates and the Lost Boys are all around you. They come through and they're on next to you. So it should give you that immersive feeling, you know, like we've got a punch-up fight that goes on and it'll happen right in front of you.
That's great. And obviously, as you say, on a much bigger scale at the Villa Marina, how else does it differ to putting on a show at the Gaiety? Because you know the Gaiety inside out. So is it a bit more nerve-wracking to be going to the Villa?
Well, it's new, so that always makes you less confident that, you know the place well. They've been amazing. The help has been incredible. It will be different because the children are all coming from different parts of the theatre to get onto the stage in the first place. So just setting that up will be a big thing, you know. But the biggest thing as well was we can't fly scenery there. There's just not enough height. So we're bringing in a video wall, which will be practically the size of the stage. So that's a different look as well for us. That's something completely new. But means that we can do a flying sequence where they actually fly down the Thames and under the bridges and all that when it gets to the flying bit. So that will be fun to do.
Oh, it sounds
The
fantastic.
flying's very exciting. You know?
Yeah, so tell us about that, because that is obviously something that literally lifts this show even higher.
Yeah, that we're flying 5 people at once. We fly Peter Pan, the three Darling children, and Tinkerbell all at the same time. So that's new to have that many people flying. So yeah, we're looking forward to the flying. It's being rigged as we speak. We left them there doing it. So much negotiation. Do you want this? You're having that? You know. Yeah, it's fun.
And we should say we are also joined by Dave Dawson, a.k.a. Hook. Which one of you have we got today, Dave? Have we got the evil character?
He's fighting from the inside to get out, but it's definitely David today. So
that means that presumably we are following a story here. It's or is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the Broadway version, isn't it?
Yes.
But so it's kind of the original tale that the Disney version then took from. So if you know the Disney version, you'll know this story. So, but marvelous, fantastic play.
And you get to take part in a few fights, I believe.
I do. I get to swashbuckle and sword fight. I mean, it was a joy. Christine and Rachel were actually down watching the Nutcracker about a year or so ago, and they came up afterwards and said, would you be interested in taking part in playing Hook? And I nearly bit off their hand at the chance, I think.
That's a good reference.
Yes. Yeah.
Much like a crocodile.
Those crocodiles, yeah. I told you he's trying to get out, you see. But no, Hook's been one of the most, for any actor, you can't really get a nicer villain to play, I don't think.
And you've got some great costumes, I'm hearing on the grapevine as well.
Yes, I think the best costumes I've ever had. I said I might try and steal them and go out in town in them. I'll be the most bejeweled person ever. It'd be incredible. No, definitely. Yeah, they're stunning, absolutely stunning. So yeah.
They do say, don't they, that there's something about playing an evil character that's it's just much more satisfying. In what way? Why is it?
Well,
so
I think the villains they never see themselves as villains. Peter Pan is the villain in this. He chopped off Hook's hand and things, and Hook just wants to be loved and regarded as the fearless and most powerful pirate ever, and he's that's what he just wants to be famous. We see him as a bit of a failed Shakespearean actor, don't we? Yes. That's kind of how we saw it. So yeah,
I suppose this is the nice thing. Even though it's such a defined character in so many people's minds, there's still a lot of interpretation for you and the team to sort of bring something new out of the part, perhaps.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's you don't really want to play the same as you see on from the films or anything like that. You do want to bring your own kind of character to Hook, and but of course you still, there are things that people will, nuances that people will notice and things like that. I mean, but you can't, I don't think you can help but fall in love with Hook in a way, and Smee. I mean, the two of them together, they're like the best couple ever. I
He's
think
really selling it, isn't he?
He's got fantastic lines, Hook, hasn't he?
Oh yes,
there's some really funny stuff, that when we first were reading it through, we were all laughing at and saying, this is really funny. It's just great lines in Peter Pan anyway.
Yeah.
All the stuff everybody knows, like second star to the right and straight on till morning. But there's funny things, like when Wendy sews the shadow back onto Peter Pan, and Peter Pan says, it doesn't feel quite right. She says, oh, perhaps I should have ironed it.
That's
It's those kind of sweet
is,
little lines all over the place.
That
It's
actually the
lovely.
adults can enjoy as well, because
Yes.
it's a show
Oh,
for
yeah.
all the family,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've recently been watching this series on one of those online channels, which is called Once Upon a Time, and it's all sort of based in fairy tale, and it's incredibly cheesy, but it's wonderful because it's all of those fairy tales, and there's something. It doesn't matter how old you are, that we latch on to that, don't we? And
Yeah.
it remains
Totally.
that sort of magic is something that we all quite like. Sort of
And I
having.
think it's trying to get the two things. Rachel's directed this show, and she's done a great job of bringing out the adventure side of it, because obviously if it's full of pirates and Indians and Lost Boys, then there's going to be, and there's all these fights. There's a punch-up fight, and then there's also the sword fights. But there's also all the magical side of it as well. You know, there's fairies and sprites and all this sort of stuff, and the flying. And it's having the combination of the two that makes it such a unique story, you know. And it's touching. It's a touching story. There's moments that give you a big lump in your throat, you know.
I've just been amazed by the talent that's on the stage. I mean, literally, I walk up and say a few lines and let them get on with the dancing, but it's, my lord, I mean, what Christy and Rachel have done and the team is just astounding. They're so good, and it's a, you know, you really are a credit to the island, I think, for what you do. So,
Isn't that lovely?
I paid him
it's
to say
true.
that.
No, you didn't. Where's that 50? No, no, I mean that. The honestly, it really, as you know, you want the arts to go from strength to strength on the island, and I know, we are, from looking at the talent we've got, we're definitely safe. It's brilliant. It's fantastic.
Well, both of you have been putting in so much effort over the years, sort of to make these things happen. And listening to what you've done with Peter Pan in particular, this obviously, as you said, it's your most ambitious project yet, Christine.
Yes.
You talked about what's happening, what you and Rachel have done with the extra stages and all the people on stage. Do you think now, and I ask both of you this because you're both involved in productions, do you now have to make sure you go that extra mile in order to attract audiences? Could you just put on something basic anymore, or does it always have to have that extra mile?
No, I think you have to. I think you have to push yourself anyway, whether that was the case. There's a lot of good theatre to see over here. People only have a finite amount of spare money. So if you want to attract the audience, you have to be doing something that makes them want to come, and something that they're intrigued by. This might be different. I might go and see that. But I think anyway, whether that was the case, if you're going to stay in theatre, you need to keep pushing yourself, really. Because, theatre's moving on.
Yeah.
The West End shows are amazing, aren't they?
No, yeah.
I mean, who if we had that kind of money, that would be wonderful. But, I think you do have to push all the time, really.
I completely agree. I think, but I think ourselves, just, you want to do the best you can do. But, it's a double-edged sword where we're blessed with the Gaiety Theatre being so fabulous. And we're so blessed with the amount of, the support from the societies and things, and the ability that they do have good backing from local businesses and things. So the big sets, the big costumes can come over. But as I say, that double-edged sword where I think people now kind of go in, and if it's not to that standard, they almost question, well, why, where is the flamboyancy, and where is this, and where's the special effects and things. And, I don't think many people realise, you go across the water, if you escape from the big cities, it's just not there. And, but it's great in a sense because it strives us to create new ideas and keep going and keep motivated. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, do let people know. Obviously, you're going to be here for the rest of the hour anyway, so if anyone has any questions, they can text 166 177 or email studio@manxradio.com. But before you move on, just let people know, Christine, when it is on and how they can go along
We
to it.
open next Thursday, 5th to the 8th of April, and we have 6 performances over 4 days.
Fantastic.
3 matinees and 3 evenings.
And I'm assuming the Villa Gaiety box office is the place
Yes,
to go to get
yes.
tickets. Lovely. Well,